Hello, everybody. It is Friday, the 20th of December. Now, I want to talk about the supposed reincarnation trap, the illusion that we're supposedly in, and how error is creating those illusionary worlds. And I want to talk about David Icke again. I'm sorry, I know there's a bit of an obsession. There is a bit of an obsession going on, but I think today I saw the error and the correction that needs to be worked. Definitely needs to be worked before this error creates a world. Right. And it is pressing on me. Now, there's something I wasn't sure whether I should say that, but I will say it. Okay, in truth, I should say it. And that is, I said in my video before that we are, at the moment, trying to come into agreement about what it is we are and what it is we're in. Yeah? And as I say, at the moment there are still a lot of different possibilities that are presenting themselves as the only truth. And one of them will win out in the end. And I said that for myself, I was veering toward the humanity team. Greg Braden, Bruce Lipton, that whole crowd there. Now there's something happening in my life, and that is, although I am in agreement with them, and I really think that is the way that humanity should go in the perception of itself. I've never dreamt about them. Yeah, and I mean now unconscious dreams, where not the flights of fancy that you go into before you fall deeply asleep, but unconscious dreams. I've never dreamt about them. I keep dreaming about David Icke. I did last night, which is what is prompting me now. Because there's something that needs to be put out of the way. It is in the way of that other perception that the humanity team is trying to create. And it needs to be put out of the way. And that is error. There is an error there. I want to show you this. Now, first of all, we need to talk about reincarnation, obviously, because it's the reincarnation trap. Now, I had not looked in a big way into near-death experiences because, well, my viewpoint was always, I'm here, I'm now, I want to deal with what's going wrong here. And I always thought, I deal with what comes after when it comes. Can only deal with it when it happens anyway. But just again this morning, and through the realization I had what's going on here, you can't actually separate the two. They are, again, entangled with each other, and the other worlds do create in this world. So from the few near-death experiences that I did watch, something has become very clear to me, and that there's not just one place that the soul goes to after it leaves this experience, the solid experience. There are many different versions of what happens. There are groups of people that are in agreement. They have the same kind of an experience, but there's definitely more than one experience. Yeah, so there's more than one world, let's say, or heaven, whatever you want to call it, place where the soul goes. Right. Now, many talk about loved ones, yeah, places like that. And then there's this story in this world that we come back because, there's the other story, of this heaven where basically you're being debriefed when you get there. Yeah? You're being debriefed of your knowledge by some hierarchy, yeah, that is debriefing you and then giving you a new mission, and that is all coming from above, from the top somewhere, and then you're being sent back to find more knowledge in service of that heaven, let's say it like that. And then really that you're not going out of your free will, out of your own free will, but that you are being forced to come back to do this thing all over again, to serve those that are in heaven. Good. That is one version. I say there's the versions of the other heavens that are absolutely not like that. And if you're in one of those, now I heard, for instance, in one of the recounts of near-death experience, that there are those in those heavens that do not want to come back. Yeah, basically they've been hurt that much, they can't face it anymore, so to speak. And that's okay. In some of those places it seems you can stay. Yeah? Maybe you stay until you have regathered some strength, and then if at some point you do want to go back, you do go back, but you are being in no way forced. And then I was thinking, what would the reason be that you do want to come back? Because everybody says, why would you possibly come back? There can be no reason for you to come back here. Well, to me, there would be very strong reasons why you want to come back here. Yeah? Even if you had free will, out of your own free will. And that is that you are still attached to those that you left behind. And you care. You love and you care. And maybe also you're becoming aware of the influence that your own life had on those that you left behind, and maybe you have veered them in the wrong direction. You've influenced them in the wrong way. You've created outcomes for them that they still have to go through. Yeah? And really, you're coming back out of your own free will to try to repair the damage that you've done. And that is actually taking responsibility, feeling responsible for what you have done during your lifetime. And you should feel responsible because you are. Yeah, your energy has influenced others, and if you have influenced them in the wrong way, you should feel responsible for that. So there's to me, perfectly good reason why you should want to come back. Out of love and out of care and taking responsibility. And again, in every lifetime, we may do something right, we may do something wrong. We probably never get it completely right. But then by working the corrections every time we come back, yeah, we may not remember what happened before, but the truth, the realization of what was wrong will be within us, and we will hopefully act out of that realization when we're here. That will be some knowledge that is inside of us, and we will come back as a new consciousness, an expanded consciousness, and then hopefully do something different. Not conscious of what happened before, but acting out of what we have become, out of our new grown self. And then if we do that all the time, the whole of the world should get better over a period of time. Again, it is an ongoing evolution. It is an ongoing evolution. It's not something that will happen like that. Press a button and the whole world will be okay. That's not how it's going to happen. Okay, that is one possibility. I want to go back to the possibility of that other heaven. And again, those that are in that mindset, even in this world, of they are the servants to a greater authority, somewhere else, and that place exists. I mean, play the game of that is real. That is actually the extended reality. It is real. It happens. We have tons of accounts of it. Yeah, that is reality beyond this world. So you are a servant in that heaven. Yeah? And again, you can see them in this world. If they are fully indoctrinated into a belief that they're serving something that is absolutely great, they will at times do the most horrendous thing, and they will do them out of their own free will, believing that they're doing something good. Yeah? So then even in a heaven like that, it is totally, I would say it is truth, then they are coming back out of their own free will, because they actually believe on that. They are the happy little servants of that which they believe in. They're not being forced. I don't think they're being forced. They do it because they believe on that, on this thing that wants to have dominion, and they are its servants, and they will come here to gather the knowledge to be in service of that. Yeah, and I think there are those in this world now, the real occultists, the real cabal, the real Illuminati, those to whom this is not just a fairy tale. Yeah, and that they're not in some moral discussion about a fairy tale story. It is, again, an experienced reality. That connection is existing. They are fully aware of it. And it is for them a lived reality. So they are on a higher awareness of the wider reality beyond the solid world. Right, okay, now, let's say you were over lifetimes attached to this heaven, and you have done that. You've come back and forth like a yo-yo, happily bringing the knowledge to the gods. What if at some point in this lifetime you would wake up to a different possibility? Because this is what this world is. It shows lots of different possibilities. It is diversity. It's diversity of ways of doing things, of ways of thinking, it's showing you there is more than just the hive mind. It should show you this, because there is more than the hive mind in this world. So what if you woke up whilst you're in this world to that realization that you've just spent lifetimes of doing something that was absolute shit, and now you're trapped. Now you are trapped. You are going back to that place. And here's another thing, and that is the Isaiah moment, what I call the Isaiah moment, where you had reasoned with God and you had come into agreement, and God says, as long as you do as you're told, you'll get all the riches, and you do fine. Yeah, I give to you. But if you are no longer in agreement with me, if you go up against me, I will burn you with fire. I will destroy you. And I think at that moment, we are talking about the death of the soul, the second death, the death of the soul, the complete destruction of the consciousness. Yeah? And I wonder if you would then be in fear of death whilst you're in this world, thinking that you're going back to that place. And you will not be able to hide that. You are no longer in agreement. It would show energetically. You have energetically changed a bit. Would you then be in fear of death? Now, it would explain something that is happening in this world. If that is a lived reality, it's actually only a small portion of people. It's not all. It's not the only possibility out there. Near-death experiences say that. But a small portion of people are living that as a reality. And they are an expanded awareness of reality. So it's all real to them. Right, you are in that situation right here on earth now. You do not want to go back. You are in fear of death. You are in fear of judgment. Absolutely. And of the destruction of the soul. Again, people say the soul cannot die. Yeah? No, the energy will never be lost, but the soul has used energy to create self, to create consciousness. And if the consciousness is gone, yes, the energy will go back into the field of all energy. But the consciousness itself will be dead. That is the death of the soul. And I believe it can happen. So, again, you're sitting here faced with that reality. What do you do? Now, if I was contemplating that, putting myself in those shoes, and I would say I have two ways out. My predicament. One is I don't leave this world. My consciousness is staying in this world. In which case the human body might be a bit of a vehicle that is not much good, because it will eventually die. So you're just prolonging the inevitable. Although I think if you came into agreement with this world, be according to this world, our bodies would last an awful lot longer. Yeah? But not eternally, most likely not. And I think they're not even contemplating coming into agreement with this world. All they know is they don't want to go back there. So, yeah. So that would be one, then create a body that you can put your consciousness into, a body that will not die, in which case you can stay in this world. And the other possibility is really the possibility of going past what they call now the astral zone. Go past the heavens. Shoot out there and see, go into infinity beyond and see what you can find. It's probably not a good choice, but again, in their mind, probably better than the choice than they are facing. Yeah? And that would actually explain what's going on in this world. There are people that are in fear of death because that is their reality. Now, and here comes David Icke. In comes David Icke. No, let me just talk about myself first. Something that I've realized. Again, out of personal experience. And that is that I know that the thoughts that are in my head are quite often not my own. Yeah, and they're not coming all the way from the source either. But they're coming from something very close at home. More than often, if I'm doing something or I'm getting something for the house and I come home and then somebody standing here and saying, I just thought about that. That was on my mind for days. Yeah, and I'm not saying, synchronicity, I wonder where that is coming from. No, there was a connection there. The thought came from that person. Yeah, and I mistakenly, when I was out there looking at something, took it as my own. And I only realized it wasn't my own when I came home and that other person said that. It was never my own thought. I have felt and known stuff that I'm quite sure came from the animals here, and quite often now and then from my pot plants, from the pot plant jungle I've got here. Although that was more than often not on the level of thought, because I don't think, but definitely feeling that came from there. Again, I was influenced, because that is consciousness. Everything is consciousness. Everything that is consciousness gives out an energy on which it gives information about itself. And we are picking up on those energies and we're getting the information, and I said more than often we don't know where it's coming from. We're not aware where it's coming from. And again, we are misdirected, completely misdirected, in that our intention is being directed toward the source, toward all the way out there. Yeah, that's where it's coming from. And I think that misdirection is quite simply there so we're not becoming aware of the true source, which is all around us. The connections that we truly have in this world and on which we do receive information. Absolutely we do. We are not, we are in a state of separation. No, we're not. We're absolutely not in a state of separation. We're just not aware of the connections and, as I said, where the information is coming from. And we're looking for it all the way out there, which is the wrong place. Everything came from out there, but we are in the connections that we are in now. And again, connections mostly a little bit out in the astral zone, but so that is what we're experiencing, and that is what we have to deal with. Heaven and earth, apparently. Right, so now let's come to David Icke. And here comes this idea that we are in a world that is an illusion. Again, I've just come across a new interpretation or a new thought, and apparently it was a thought from the old wisdom schools. The word illusion did not actually mean not real. Yeah, everybody's going on, this is not real, which is idiotic because it is obviously real. Yeah? You bump your foot, it's real. So it never meant not real. The illusion is created by the wrong perception of what we're in. Consciousness creates the wrong perception, and it believes its own perception to be real, the reality. But it is created by error. Consciousness got something wrong that created the wrong perception, and then it lives in that wrong perception. That is the illusion. That's the illusion. It's not that this is not real. You just have the wrong perception of it. And you're living in that wrong perception. So, creating the wrong perception. Now, David Icke blurted out in that Wogan interview, I am Jesus. And to be quite honest, the more I think about it, the more I look at what he's doing, he is so right. He has no idea how right he actually is. I don't think I'm talking about that he's the actual reincarnation of the person that was Yeshua. I don't think that, but they're definitely doing the same thing. They are they're on the same path, and I think they were both in error, and the error of Jesus created, again, an illusion, a wrong perception of what we are and what we're in. And I think David Icke is doing the same thing at the moment. It's his error, but because he's got that many followers, it may create an illusionary world. And we must prevent that. If we see the error, we must correct it. And I think the error, again, of David Icke, when he says, this is a trap. We are being forced back. This is an illusionary world and all of that. I think he's mistaken the source that is coming from. Again, I think to him, that is coming from, I don't know, way out there, and then it is universal truth. And now it's been, again, proclaimed as all our truth. We are all in that trap. I don't think we are. We are not all in the same cycle. We are not all going to the same places. That's not everybody's problem, but it is, I think, very much the problem of a few. It's not universal. It's not this world as a whole. Again, wrong perception. It's an error that could create a world if it becomes all our perception, that we're all in that trap. And then where is the information coming from? And again, David Icke himself says, where attention goes, energy flows. And where has his attention been for the last 20 years? He's been staring at them, at the cabal. He's connected to them. He is receiving their thoughts. This idea of, that heaven and being trapped here and needing to get out needing to go past the astral zone. That's their thoughts. That is not universal truth for all of humanity. That is their thoughts. I'm convinced of that. There is a group of people here that are in that cycle to that place, back and forth. And it's their thoughts. We are in a trap. We must get out. And I say they are in fear of death. They are in fear of death. And it's probably they that are saying, to hell with the consequences, let's just go past the astral zone and take our chances. That's their thoughts. And I don't think David Icke is correctly identifying the source of his thoughts. And that again would create a completely different perspective if it was that, because it would not be the problem of the entire world. We are not all in that situation. We all have our own problems, I'm sure. I don't think that's it. Again, you make it universal. You create a perception for the entire world, and that is exactly what Jesus did. One source. He had one source. Again, that was not the all, that was just one source, and again, it became global. The only source, the only truth. Exact same thing. It is creating a perception that is built on an error. And that then creates an erroneous perception of the world, and that is the illusion. That is the falsehood. It is not that this world is real. You're living in a bubble that was created by a perception. The bubble is wrong. So I think this is what we need to correct. And really we must become extremely aware of what it is we're doing and where the information that we are receiving on those pathways, where it is actually coming from. And we receive information from one source. If we then portray that source as all or as the only truth, that is not creation, that is not this world, that is not out there. Even the heavens, there seems to be more than one. There's diversity. But to make one source all is an error. And it creates an illusionary world, not the entirety of the truth. I think Jesus did that, and I think David Icke is doing the same thing right now. And as I said, he's got that many followers that could create. If that becomes the mainstream thought of humanity, that this is all of us, it would create an illusionary world. Just because a part suddenly becomes all. And it never was all. So, and as I said, I don't think we're all going to the same place, and I don't think we're all being forced to come back here. And to be quite honest, I don't feel in fear of death myself. And I have every intention of coming back. Because I do believe in this evolutionary process. We all make mistakes when we're here. We all get things right. We all do things wrong. We go to a place, we contemplate what happened. We create a new state of consciousness, and we are coming back. We may not remember what has happened before exactly in the lifetimes, but we will be that state of consciousness, and we will act out of that state of consciousness because it is us. And we will do things differently because we are a different consciousness through that process of repentance, creating a change in yourself. And as long as we keep doing that, as long as we keep doing this and we keep coming back with the intention of doing better, this world as a whole should at some point become a better place. We are creating a better world for all. And it is evolution. It's not going to come like that. Press a button and the world will change. Or created by the one. The one will come and make it all better for all. It is a process that is done by all to create for all. I said if we come back, we can conceivably come back out of, because we care, because we love, and because we take responsibility for what we have done before, and we should. We are responsible. But at the moment, if you have influencers like David Icke, that I would say they are in error. They are themselves in the wrong perception of what they are receiving or what the source of that knowledge is. But he is now going around touting that, his perception, that I think is error, as a universal truth, so that it should become all our truth. And then we will live in an illusion that was built on error. So that is one thing that creates illusions. I would just want me to say one last thing, and that is Christianity is also obviously creating an illusion. And I don't think that is built on error. I think some of that is built on deception, which is deliberate. That is to give error into this world deliberately. It will also create an illusion, but the source is somewhat different. I don't think that David Icke is deceiving. I think he's just in unconscious error. But I definitely think he's there. And we must remove error so that we see reality in the correct way. Anyway, here I leave it at that for today. And I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.